We were pretty famous back in high school.
Trust us. Had a whole future ahead of us, but now we suck.
All that potential now is flowing in the aqueducts.
Through the sands of time, many did forget.
But now our time has come to resurrect. But a podcast?
Sad I know, but can you blame us?
We are desperate to be much more than high school famous. Well, have I given enough silence at the beginning for...
Silence at the beginning doesn't matter.
When I jumped in right away at the beginning, you're like, this might be too soon.
It might have been too soon, but it wasn't. It didn't. It ended up not being too soon.
Hello. One and all. Well, what?
What? Nothing.
I like how you judge my my intro activity when you never do.
I wasn't judging your intro. I was judging your sass at the opening of the episode.
Got it.
Yeah, and also I used to always do the intro.
What was it? What did you even do?
It was that whole fucking like spiel. I would say that same fucking stupid thing over every single time.
Well, it was. I must be so good that I forgot what it is.
It was the like Welcome to High School Famous podcast where. I don't remember what it was. It was the same stupid spiel for the first like 2,000 episodes, whatever it was. The first like 100-something episodes, probably.
Chop a place off of that, and we haven't. We're in that area of episodes.
Yeah. But no, I did for a while. I was doing the same stupid thing for the first however many episodes, however many it was, and then you started trying to do like some special intro every single time.
That's what I like to
the
do.
Simpsons opening where you're just like, it's going to be different every single time, you guys.
Well,
that
those
gets
were
old fast as far as doing it, not as far as like presenting them. Writing them gets old fast.
The effect on the audience is the exact opposite of what you have. As if you're the one trying to write it, it gets old.
Yeah.
Trying to write it. No, but the Simpsons, they repeated plenty of intros.
Did they? I don't know. I never watched The Simpsons.
Especially when it comes to like when they would run into the couch. You'd see repeaters of those things. Do we talk about
The Simpsons? Yeah, we've talked about The Simpsons and Seinfeld, of course.
No. Not just in general, but if The Simpsons were to end.
Thank God. Is what I would say.
There's no hint that it's going to.
Yeah, I know.
But did I ever reveal what my idea is? Is the only way it can like be somewhat meaningful of an ending?
No.
Okay. Because there's nothing like to wrap up with The Simpsons.
Right.
So it's not like every character has an arc that will be nicely tied up in a
It's not like
bow.
the characters have been like actually aging throughout this, like that you could be like, okay, then they're gonna move out and blah blah blah.
It's odd because technology, they've kept up with technology in the show,
right?
But they're still the same age as they were in the 80s when they first came to be,
right?
So there's not, and I'm thinking like there's not some like thing that they've been longing for that they could like all of a sudden have like status, or I mean maybe if they became rich or something, but
yeah, there was no like will they won't they relationship going on,
And it's hard for me to say if because I clearly fell off of The Simpsons long ago, so who knows what they've done in various episodes in the last 25 or even 30 years. I don't even know how long it's been since I stopped paying attention.
It has not been that long. It's not been 30 years.
How do you know? I think they're in
the show's only been
season.
on for. Are they on their 40th? It's only been on since I thought it was 89.
Simpsons seasons. Oh, sorry. Wait. This says season 36 overview. Season 36, episode 11, December 2024. So they're either in the middle of the 36th season or the 36th season ended soon or recently or something.
And you probably stopped watching, what, maybe...
Okay, fine. 25 years ago. 25.
I think you've watched it since then.
I've got...
Since 2000?
The seasons I own on DVD, I think, are only through 8 or 9. which means if they're 36 seasons in, I'm then about 25, 26 seasons removed.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think like that's when you're like, the show has gotten bad. I will not watch it anymore. And it has gone on more than double the length of time that you stopped watching it. And even the first couple of seasons, you're like,
Yeah. And even some of the episodes toward season 8, 9, or whatever, when I stopped, I'm like, some of these episodes, I'm like, that's not so great anymore.
So not even 9 full solid seasons for you out of a show that's been going on for 36 years.
Yeah. So who knows what has happened in episodes since. I mean, there are plenty of people that do. I'm just saying I don't. So I can't speak to, there could have been an episode where they were rich and then they lost it all in the same episode or something. They seem to have done a lot of, they've had to do like weird things apparently, where there's an episode where they've done more than one episode where they're singing the whole time. They've done episodes, I think, where they're like anime characters instead. They're just like, they have to try to keep doing. It's not the show it was at the beginning. They're not the same family they were at the beginning. It's not about the same thing it was about at the beginning. So that's all to say that there's not some like grand conclusion that you can go, oh, this finally happened for them. And it's so nice. Right. And this is the end of their story. So I think the only way to make the Simpsons end that would, because if Simpsons decided this is our final season, that's going to obviously get news coverage. Oh, the Simpsons are finally ending. Oh, what's this last season going to be? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And there's going to be a lot of focus and attention on what the finale is going to be. And ultimately, it's going to be a giant letdown because
it's going to be a letdown, but also very successful.
A lot of people will watch
it. It's going to get a lot of ratings.
Yeah, a lot of attention.
End up being awful.
Yeah, it's good. So I think the only way to do it is make it a Treehouse of Horror episode.
Okay.
Which is their yearly Halloween episode. And which is always broken up into like 3 little like mini episodes, right? So it's not even like one full long episode. But no one knows this is going to be the last episode, but their last episode is a Treehouse of Horror episode. And in the last episode, in the last little mini cartoon of that show, all the characters, all the Simpsons characters anyway, like the Simpson family, they get killed off. And no one's going to think anything of it because, oh, it's a Treehouse of Horror episode. They get killed all the time in these episodes. But that'll just be it. They will die in their Halloween episode, and no one will know that it's the last episode. That's the only way to make it somewhat actually successful or like, oh, well, they got us. I don't know. I think that's the only way to do it. That to make it people, and the episode just with this Simpsons episodes that are somewhat current that I've seen because my son has watched a lot of the much later seasons. They might have one funny thing in it per episode, and that's just not a good ratio. That's not a good return on investment. So I would predict that as a whole, the episode would still be awful.
Right.
It's just the only like interesting way maybe to end the series.
So do they still have a lot of the same writers that they've kind of always had?
No.
I was going to say, but I thought a lot of the people who did voices also did writing for the show, but maybe they don't. Maybe they just do voice acting now.
I've really only known them to be voice actors for the show. And those are largely all still the same people. I think like someone who, for some reason, I'm thinking that someone who did the original voice for Marge, like maybe passed away or something like that.
I thought it was one of her sisters, or maybe that's the same person. I have no idea.
I think the person who did Marge and Marge's mom and the 2 sisters, I think it was all the same person, if I'm not mistaken. They're really like, one person does not come in and do one character.
Oh God, no!
Like
Unless
the people that do voices on that show do multiple voices. I think the base, your sort of solid characters that have been there from the beginning and are still there, I think are voiced, all of them, by like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a huge voice staff. So they are just rich
I wonder
beyond.
if they're to the point where they're just like, well, this is a good like gig. I'm going to just keep getting this paycheck.
I don't think they look
Or
at
do
a
they
script
think-
and go, we need to make this better. I think they're just like, what do I have to say? Blah, 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 out the door.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah, if they care,
There can't
if
be
they
any
know,
passion
if they know it
to
sucks and they just don't care anymore, or if they actually come into it and be like, this is good stuff. This is good, solid stuff. I'm proud of this work.
I don't think they're going in and saying they're proud of anything. I think especially since they lived through the heyday, like when it was it's firing on all cylinders and it was an outstanding show. They went through that, and they have to look at this modern stuff and go, it's just more Simpsons.
And the thing that's crazy to me is
it's an easy paycheck. Basically.
It's not like Matt Groening or Groening.
I think Groening.
It's not like Matt Groening doesn't know how to finish a show. He's had other cartoons that he's put out since this that he had a start and a finish to. Like Futurama was a great show. I think pretty much for the most part from beginning to end, Futurama was pretty awesome.
I haven't seen any of the. It's back.
It's back again.
Yeah.
See now. Okay, now I'm upset. Never mind.
Right.
Then
it's back. So it's
don't do that.
It's come back more than once, and there was a whole
I remember it came back the second time because it got canceled or they switched networks or whatever the hell, so many shows do that shit.
Yeah.
But then they actually got to the end and finished the show. But the whole joke was that they were going to go back to the beginning. They're like, want to go should we do it all over again? And they go through this time portal to go start all over again. And that's kind of how the show ended, where it's like, oh, it didn't really end. Now we can just go back and rewatch it again.
Gotcha.
I'm like, oh, that's kind of a fun ending.
I don't know if I saw that.
But then to bring the show back again, why? Just let it. Yeah. Now that you say that, I remember the whole thing about them bringing it back. And
the guy who was doing the voice of Bender wasn't going to do it, but he ended up doing it.
Well, yeah, because everybody protested that they wouldn't watch it if he wasn't part of it.
Right.
Because they were he was in negotiations or whatever, and they weren't going
to give him as much money as he wanted.
Yeah.
So he still, and they as far as I know, that they never budged on that. So he just accepted the lower pay that he was trying to avoid. Just so it happened.
I haven't watched it, but I'm sure it's not as good.
I haven't watched it either, but I don't know if I watched the show when it came back that first time.
I think I caught some of it.
Because I saw the movies they made. They made a few
movies
movies.
Are great.
And I liked those.
Mm-hmm.
But so it did seem like Futurama could do no wrong. It seemed like it was just
I think
consistently
it was just kind of the right thing, I think, too, of just oh, it's the future. They could literally get away with doing kind of anything.
Right.
So it was I think it was much more freeing, and it's just kind of
Yeah. You can create, it's the future that they can make up anything, and no one can go, well, that doesn't work. That doesn't exist. You can't do that. Well, it's the future. So we can't say this won't exist.
I think that's where that's where
and
Simpsons kind of loses a lot of stuff.
They safely went 1,000 years into the future. They don't have the Back to the Future problem where it's like, well, it's 2015. Where's our hoverboards?
Right.
We're not in our lifetimes. We're not going to see the year that this show takes place. So they were smart enough to do,
unless they figure out the head in a jar technology,
which, I don't know that they ever stated in the show when that technology was developed. Maybe they do. I don't know, but
I don't believe they do.
Well, I'm sure if they played everything, they played it all safe enough so that we can't go, hey, cartoon.
Right.
Why do we have the things you claimed that we were going to have by this point? Did you think that, for example, with Back to the Future, did you think or hope or have any wish that by 2015 we would have some of the things that they had in that movie? I mean, one of them was funny. It was a retro 80s themed diner. Yeah. So of course they know what will be in that, because what was big it was the 80s when that movie was made. So
yeah, I don't think there was anything that I was really excited about from that movie.
Because seeing it as a kid, you're like, the only thing that people think about it are the hoverboard, and the
flying cars.
The self-drying jacket, and this is shaped. It shrinks down to fit you if it's it adjusts to, and then the shoes that were self-lacing, which Nike did make.
Yeah.
in honor of the movie. I think that around 2015 they released, some of that. But yeah, I think other than that, no one's even thinking about anything that was in that movie.
Flying cars.
But that's not specific to Back to the Future too. That's like,
well, yeah, okay.
Everyone's always hoping for flying cars in the future.
Yeah, flying cars really, what a fucking nightmare that would be.
Well, yeah, and like I've heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about how much energy it would take to make a car fly in the first place.
Oh yeah,
and how the accident. If you get in an accident in the sky, guess what?
Well,
your odds of dying.
Like, you hit the brakes. How does that work?
Right. They'd have to figure. I know.
It
would have to. It'd be like reverse jet propulsion. They would have to shoot something out of the front of the car to slow you down.
So many cars
would have
are
to hit something.
There's so many cars that are like, oh, look how safe our car is and everything. Like our stopping power and everything of this car from 60 to 0 in this amount of distance and blah, blah, blah. How hard is it to stop a car that has absolutely no friction?
Yeah. It just has air resistance. That's the only
it's just
thing
air resistance and whatever propulsion system is going to now try to flip to propel the other direction.
Either
what a nightmare.
So it would have to blast something out the back to propel you forward.
Mm-hmm.
So either something has to blast out the front to slow you down, or whatever is happening in the back now turns into suction instead of. It's like sucking something in to try to slow you down that way. I don't know of any other way to do it.
A nightmare. And what if it's just like you're in traffic?
It shoots out a bunch of fans, like wings or something, to kind of like paddles, like you're trying to sort of row. If you stick an oar in the water, it's going to slow your boat down. Or maybe if something shoots out the side, it'll kind of try to slow it down that way, like a sail or something. No,
that's awful.
Hey,
that's the worst idea ever. I think, we have enough trouble right now with the self-propelled cars.
Yeah.
That we should probably let's figure that technology out first. Get all of our cars self-propelled. I think it'd be nice if all cars were self-propelled, because then it would take care of all fucking traffic issues.
It would. If everything was on, if there was some sort of track it was linked to underneath the road.
Not even necessarily tracks, but just...
But if you did that...
Well, yeah, if you did that, that would be
a way to make sure that there's no weird car malfunctions and all of a sudden it's going rogue.
There'd be virtually no accidents unless a mechanical issue. There would be no real traffic issues because the traffic would all be flowed through this system. So therefore, you're not going to have one person riding in one lane slower than everybody else. Everybody would be going at the same pace. You wouldn't worry bottlenecking issues wouldn't be a problem because everything could be figured out so that the flow would continue smoothly. Like if there's a bottleneck coming up, you're going from 3 lanes down to 2, they'd be able to project how far back do we need to have cars start slowing down so that when they get to this point, there's no fucking backup. All that could be figured out. It's all mathematical and easy and not easy, but easy for people who know how to do all that stuff. But
now I don't know how many deaths there are per year
in general, or
from. Let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that either. But yeah, sure. Let me cook. We have to. Okay. Just because that's a popular thing to say right now, we have to say that and not just let me finish.
I'm going to let you cook on your annoyance of that phrase.
Yeah, let's let that simmer.
We'll let that one simmer while you're cooking on this other thing, and then we'll come back to let that one cook a little bit more.
Hold on, I've got so many tangents and things I need to cook on. I need to cook with. I'm running out of burners. I need to get a second oven.
What does the oven have to do with how many burners you have?
Well, you don't always cook in the oven. You cook on the stovetop too.
Yeah, but you said I'm running out of burners. I need another oven.
An oven,
An oven with a cooktop? Because an oven is a separate thing than a cooktop.
Fine.
Because there's plenty of people that have ovens that don't have cooktops at all.
Yeah, those are
the wall-mounted ones.
I think those are more well-off people to have a separate range area and then an oven separately.
I think nowadays maybe. Back in the day, not so much. Back in the day we had an oven that was separate from our cook stuff. It was never hooked up to anything though. It was a food storage oven. It was in the wall.
Hey, we need to keep this at room temperature.
It was like where we kept bread and chips and things. Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, I'm not sure how many people die per year, by the way of drowning in your car, by crashing your car into, say, a body of water like a lake or a pond.
Okay.
But why did they stop really working on sort of boat cars that can drive into the water and then also travel via the water?
The demand was fairly low, I would say.
I mean, they probably don't know. Really?
I would say the demand for boat cars is very low.
It was definitely a novelty, but
yeah.
I'm thinking if every car was made to float, that would eliminate all death by drowning because your car went into the water. Like, let's say you're driving on a frozen lake and then it breaks through the ice. The car then would not sink. Just make it so cars don't sink. It can't be that hard.
Again, lots of people don't live near water, so it would be pretty stupid to have all cars be able to float.
Why would that be stupid?
Because it would make cars a lot more expensive.
Why?
Because you have to there's so much more you have to put into it to make it have ballasts and all this fucking shit.
Only during the R&D phase. This is how stuff works, Matt. R&D is done. R&D, the R&D phase is when they research and develop this new idea. That takes a lot of work. There's trial and error. Oops, it didn't work this way. We got to think of a new way to make it work. It didn't work this way. Let's try over. Then they figure it out.
Okay.
This is a tested, proven, successful implementation of this technology or idea.
For every single make and model of car.
Sure. No, I'm not saying that every single make and model has to do R&D all at the same time.
Okay.
One company could develop the best way and then, license out their patents so that the other car makers can do the same thing. It's all for the greater good. That's what most companies are. Their main interest is the greater good.
Right. It's not the bottom line.
Right. It's not. So anyway, once the tried and true method is developed, the R&D phase is over. You go into production. The initial models of those vehicles, of course, will be much more expensive because we need to make back our R&D money on the sales of these vehicles. But over time, it will become less and less expensive because their R&D phase is done. They've recouped their money, and they can sell. They can also find cheaper and more cost-effective ways to make the same thing. Yeah,
car companies notorious for dropping their prices.
Well, that's another thing. That's like their car prices are already just keep going up and up and up.
They're fucking ridiculous.
But why not include?
Because then they're going to go even higher. It already, like, a base model car is almost already like between 20 to 30,000 for just a fucking base model car nowadays, brand new off the fucking showroom floor. Now you're adding all of this extra boat shit. Also, boat car, whatever the fuck you want to call it, going into the fucking water. It's not like a seamless fucking like flip a button, ooh, it's a boat. Like, there's things that need to close. There's stuff. So, like, if a car goes careening off a bridge into the water, it's still probably going to sink because that person might be passed out. Now, they're going to flip that switch to turn it into a boat? Are they going to flip it while it's flying through the air?
Okay, let's step back.
This is a bad idea, and you're a bad person.
Let's
continue.
Now, you're talking about car boats as they exist now. One-off novelty. Hey, let's make a fun car that can turn into a boat if you follow several steps. I'm talking about making it so regular cars don't sink when they enter the water. I'm not talking about continuing to make car boats as they are made now.
You're like the Steve Jobs of car boats. You're like, I have this idea. Make it happen.
Great. I will take that compliment.
That was not a compliment. That's me saying, like, hey, you're just like, I have this idea. Now you smart people go figure it out.
Look,
that's what Steve Jobs did.
Look, some people are very skilled, but they might not have a vision for something that they can apply their skills to. I can come along with the vision, a non-sinking car.
Okay, so that's already an idea that somebody else already came up with. So
Well,
you're
they came
basically
up with no.
idea is
They
your
came up
idea
with
is no. This is your idea. This is what you're bringing to car companies.
But they
Let's
came up with
modernize car boats, and they're like, "Oh, brilliant! How did we not think of this sooner?"
Well, they're not making them.
Yeah, because it's not logical to make them.
Look,
This is the dumbest thing.
the car boats that were made in days of yore.
Yeah, do you wonder why they stopped making them?
They were were any of them commercially officially released by car companies, or were they just like enthusiasts making them in their garage?
No, there was actual car companies that built car boats or boat cars. I don't fucking know which way you're supposed to call it.
I'm saying coats. Just call them coats for short.
No.
Bars, then. If coats isn't good enough, call them bars.
Coats and bars are already things.
But they're not good enough. We need to make them better, is my whole point. We need to make better bars and coats.
What if it's a truck?
It's a buck or a cuck? What do you prefer? What are you into?
Where did you get cuck?
I suppose that would be like a car
It'd be
truck.
a buck. Yeah.
A car truck. Yeah, anyway.
It'd be a buck or a tote, you moron.
A tote? See, totes already exist.
Yeah, so do bucks.
Yeah.
So none of this works.
So your naming scheme and skills are so much better than mine.
No, I was literally just proving a point of the fact that none of it works.
Anyway.
Go ahead. Continue.
The point is...
Mm-hmm. There's a point.
Hopefully. The nub is the way in which cars are made to be buoyant needs to be better so that it's cheaper, it's easier to produce, it doesn't require steps for the driver, so that if there is an incident where they unexpectedly find themselves in the water, the car will not sink and they will therefore not drown. Not everyone is good in a high tense panic situation where they go, okay, I'm sinking. I need to wait for the water to fill the inside of the car so the equilibrium is there. So it's easier for me to open my door. Some people might not think, let me try to get my window open before electronics fail on the vehicle so I can swim out. Not a lot of people are going to have like those little hammers where you can easily break your window to try to swim out that way. And also, it's harder to hold your breath for a longer period of time if you're in panic mode because you're breathing very quickly and heavily. Mm-hmm. Your heart rate is up. You're going to use up oxygen more quickly. Why not work on a way to alleviate the worry? Make it so that cars just don't sink.
I think that way more people die every year from drunk drivers than bodies of water when it comes to being in a car.
Again,
it might make more sense to figure out how to make cars make you sober. It'd probably be more cost effective.
I mean, there are those probably, but
because you don't have to make the car buoyant.
But isn't there a way? Isn't there something that exists now where you can make it so you have to blow into basically a breathalyzer, and if you blow a certain number, your engine won't start?
Yeah, if you've been convicted of a DUI.
Right, but that could be applied.
You want to put that in every car?
Why not? The technology exists.
Yeah, they're not cheap to own.
That's all based on whoever manufactures them. They know they're selling them to like the police departments.
All cars need to have breathalyzer devices in them to be able to start them.
Well, because the people who make them know they're being sold to like the city, so they're going to charge through the nose.
So they'll be cheaper if they can sell thousands and thousands of them to every single car company.
Yes, if they mass produce them,
that's the problem.
If you mass produce them, you're going to be willing to charge less per item because you're going to be guaranteed to sell in greater volume. You'll make your money back.
Okay, so all cars need to have breathalyzers in them, even for people who aren't offenders.
Well, that was okay. So hold on. Your idea was not to use existing technology to make it so that people who are inebriated just can't start their car. But your idea was to make it so that a car can sober someone up.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
It's just as smart of an idea as you making every car buoyant.
It's not. My idea
I know, it's a
is
stupid
smarter.
idea. Exactly.
No. Your idea
exactly.
is stupid.
They're both
Your
dumb.
idea is stupid because
really
there's already
ideas.
a way to disable the use of a vehicle if you are
Yeah. You know you can
inebriated.
bypass those systems.
Supposedly.
You definitely can.
How?
I don't
Have
know
your
how
friend blow into it?
Well, there's that option.
Have
for
your,
one.
have
There's
your,
ways to get
have
around
your
it.
designated driver blow into it?
There's definitely ways to get around those systems, though, but if they're tampered with, obviously, if you are somebody who has one of those installed in your car and you do tamper with it, that just fucks you over.
It
big time
immediately
with
alerts
law
the
again.
authorities.
I don't know if it does.
No, but
I
they
don't know
should
how
make
any
it
of
so
that
it does.
works. I don't know.
Make it so
might,
it does.
Maybe
Make
it does.
it so.
I don't know. But either way.
But you want to make a
Boat
car
cars,
that makes people
carboats,
sober.
stupid.
You're like, oh, someone's going to get in
Sean,
their car.
It was a fucking dumb. It was me saying something so fucking stupid just to align with your stupid idea. That's what it was. I was making a ridiculous.
No.
I was saying something ridiculous because your idea is so dumb.
But no, I mean, a car could be outfitted with. There are airbags inside of a car in order to prevent you from injuring yourself if you crash, right?
Yeah, instead of you injuring yourself on the car, you injure yourself on the airbag. Yeah,
right. But still, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, it's the better of the injuries.
Right. They could install inflatable airbag equivalent things underneath everything so that maybe your car is now. It can float because of these things that are now filled with air.
So your car would have to have a tank of air in it at all times.
Well, it already has a tank of whatever fills the airbags.
It's like a.
Is it a powder?
There's a charge. It's a charge that goes off. It like explodes.
Sure.
I don't know. It
Do
doesn't
the
stay.
same
It doesn't
thing?
stay inflated for very long.
But
It just stays inflated long enough that you can smack yourself into it.
But this would obviously be designed to stay inflated long enough for you to get out of your car and swim to safety. Now, but let's explore your sober up.
No, because
idea.
It was never a real idea, Sean.
So first of all, you get in the car.
I'm
You
not
have
gonna-
to trust
I'm not
that whoever's
going to,
driving
I'm not
it.
going to.
Well, how's
I'm
it
not
going
to?
First of all,
because
how's it
it's
going to
not- you
detect?
You're having
First
a
of all-
conversation by yourself now.
First of all, how's it going to detect that you're not sober in the first place? You're relying on like the trust system that someone's going to go, by the way, car, I am at a 0.09, which is above the legal limit. Help me, car. And then what? It's going to start shooting cold water in your face. Maybe some hands come out and slap you a few times. You know, what else will it do to sober you up? What are some of the other supposed sobering techniques? You know,
I'm not engaging you.
Maybe
I'm not engaging this conversation.
Maybe it releases a ghost that will scare
right.
you.
Keep going.
Maybe, a crazy ex-girlfriend will show up. This is your idea, so I don't know why you're
And
like,
I
I'm not
told you
gonna
it was
talk
all
about-
bullshit and I wasn't going to engage in it. I was just saying it because it was a ridiculous thing to go along with your ridiculous thing.
But it's my idea is not ridiculous. Why would
Sean, you and I both know you don't believe in this.
No. Cars.
Yeah.
Why would I think no? We should still make sure that cars are able to sink in the water.
How fucking into
we
this
should do
idea
nothing
are
about
you?
that.
How dedicated are you to this idea?
Well, I'm not dedicated enough to like try and make it happen, but I think that it's a good idea. Why would it not be?
Why don't you pitch it to somebody that matters? Because pitching it to me doesn't mean shit.
Well, because I don't know who else. I don't know who to pitch it to, and I guarantee you this isn't like a unique idea to me. I guarantee you this has been. They probably weighed out.
Yeah, they've made car boats before.
Yeah, but that's a step. We already established that's not to be used. That's not for an emergency situation. That's like, time to put my car in the water. Let me get out and close up all the things I need to close up, and let me flip the switches I need to flip. We're talking, this is a life-saving, it's a safety feature. Just like the front sensors that read when you're getting too close to an object and it warns you and applies the brakes automatically. Just like backup cameras that beep if you start to get too close to something behind you. Just like some cars I know, when they turn on their turn signal, must be a tiny camera in each of the side mirrors. So when you turn on, say, your right turn signal, what is seen in your right side mirror is now projected on the screen in the center of your car instead of what was there before.
Let me read you something.
Go for it.
Worldwide.
Because you're great at this.
Worldwide, approximately 300,000 people die from drowning each year.
That's a lot of people.
Let me continue. In the U.S., an average 3,500 to 4,000 people drown annually, with an estimated 400 people dying in submerged vehicles.
Okay. And you
400
don't
a year.
But still, you don't want that number to go down?
You
don't want there to be any efforts made to attempt to make that number go down.
So, out of the hundreds of thousands of cars that are built and sold every year, you want them all to be boats. And only possibly 400 of those might be used.
We're
in
not
that emergency situation.
I'm no longer in the position that I want the cars to be boats, as in you can travel like, oh, I want to cross that lake. I'm just saying, make it so they don't sink. If you find yourself going off the road and into a body of water, make it so they float. It's not a ridiculous idea. It's not.
What about cars that go off cliffs? Should we make sure they can fly or glide?
If there's a way, if there's an efficient, effective way to make that happen.
All right, so all cars should float. All cars should be able to glide.
You could deploy a large enough parachute that would support the weight of the vehicle and any passengers inside. That is, I mean, they drop larger items than a car out of military aircraft.
Yeah, but that's strategic and meant to happen.
Right. But the same thing could also be applied for emergency situations. Now, granted,
not cost effective.
You
could buy 2 regular cars for the price of one of these cars.
Right. But when it comes to putting the price on a lost life, what are you going to put a dollar sign on someone's life?
Yeah. Funeral homes do it all the time.
They do for people who are already passed. They're not talking about, well, this amount of money is not worth preventing this person from dying. The people in funeral homes are charging you for people that are already dead.
There's very few people in this world that I would give a shit about, a money range of their life. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but then good thing you're not the CEO of a car company. You're not in the position to make those decisions.
Good thing you're not one either. Otherwise, all cars would float and glide and cost at least $100,000 a piece.
Look, I'm going to release a car that's called the Homer, and it's going to have a separate bubble compartment for the children so the parent can't hear the kids in the back seat.
Is that from The Simpsons?
It's going to have fins. It's going to have a horn that plays La Cucaracha. All these great things. Yes, it's from The Simpsons.
Mm.
What gave it away? The fact that it's called the Homer?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was I think a season 2 episode, so it wasn't even like when they were they hit their stride really.
Did it float?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Wow, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
and
for
The
a
Simpsons
cartoon.
Supposedly thinks of everything.
I mean, they probably have an episode where there's cars that float. I don't know. Again, I'm 25 minimum years removed from that show. So who knows? You can look up every episode to see if they talked about a floating car. Okay, good. But you are going to look up something with that bright laptop screen of yours.
I'm looking up who made the fucking boat car. Our car
Well, there's
boat.
been more than one person or company. You think there's only been one ever made?
I was just seeing if there
moron
was.
If you think that.
I was just Googling it, Sean, and seeing what came up, and this one specific car came up. So eat a dick. It's mostly this one car, the Amphicar,
Clever,
or the Amphicar. I added some extra.
You added a fib.
Yeah.
You're an ib. You added an ibba.
An IBA. Amphicar. Well, the I is there, so it's Amphicar. I just said it weird, I think.
Who made it?
It's German. The Quant Group.
Volkswagen.
Hans Trippel is the designer.
So it's not like a German car company that's well known that released this. It's some hobbyist.
I think that was the car company.
Is that all they made?
So I think that's the car they made.
They only made one car.
How many do you think they made?
No, I'm not talking about Like, as in, how many did they make of that car exactly?
I'm assuming this is the only car they produced.
So they produced.
I'm not seeing a lot of information right now. I'm looking up this specific car. So
they produced the Amphicar, and you want me to guess how many of the Amphicar they manufactured?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that they didn't make other cars, like other regular cars.
Yeah, but you're not answering my question.
1,000.
3,878.
Okay. Did they sell 3,878?
Well, that doesn't tell me that.
Why not?
I don't know, because I didn't look. I'm not looking into it that deeply.
You're looking into it way more deeply than I was
now
thinking
I am.
you were
I'm
going
digging
to.
into it now.
And you know what? You shouldn't have to look into it deeply at all because it should remain near the surface of the water.
Apparently, there's like people who own them, like get together.
Die.
No, they get together
sure.
once in a while, have their little get-togethers.
It's like a biker club, to not call them something else.
It's got a 13.125 gallon tank for fuel.
Cool.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm not seeing how many were sold. I don't care to keep looking into this too much, but either way, it exists. It obviously, 3,800 of them. I mean, that's only 10 years worth of deaths saved. So,
but are these where you can just drive them into the water and they just work?
This one just drives straight into the water.
Okay.
And then you just have to drop the propeller or whatever, the engine for the boat part of it.
Do you need to do that before you enter the water, or can you do it?
No, because
after?
then it'll probably drag on the ground.
Probably. Maybe. I'm not sure. I didn't design it.
Potentially.
Potent.
And I don't know how it worked. I don't think it goes very fast in the water either.
I don't think that they were. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
We're
it's
not
built for speed.
Yeah, we're not. They're not scaring the speedboat market.
They're like, look, this thing's not going to be built for speed or for looks.
Yeah,
it's just going to have. It's going to have two functions: drive and float. And at most, 3,800 people are going to be able to own one of these things. Mm-hmm.
So we're not expecting that.
I imagine
we don't want there to be a lot of them, huh?
I imagine they didn't sell them all.
I wonder what caused them to decide on producing that many. Like,
maybe there was a small demand in the beginning, so they're like, "Oh yeah, let's keep going and let's keep building these things." And then
they saw like a rate of growth, and then the next year they try to predict, like, well, based on the previous rate of growth, we should expect to sell this many in this year, so let's produce this many, and then it all fell apart.
Hey, you want to tie this? Should we tie this all back together? So Amphicars have appeared in many films and TV shows and stuff. And the last one on the list, in the 5th season episode of The Simpsons.
Ooh, 5th season.
Yeah. So this is one this is in their prime. This is something you would have watched.
Is this something Hans Moleman drove?
I don't know. An antique film strip touts Springfield's famous Aquacar factory, showing Amphicars rolling off the assembly line and into the water.
I think I can picture this.
I mean, anybody could picture it.
Can you, as in I can recall what it looks like from memory, having seen it. Can you, if it's in a cartoon, can you say it appeared there?
Its likeness did, yeah.
Sure, okay. But it's not like, the Simpsons didn't have to rent some Amphicars to shoot a scene.
No.
They just drew.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was specifically that car.
But it was called an aqua car just to mock.
It was probably so they didn't have to pay the rights, any
Amphicar.
rights to the actual thing. But then apparently,
it looks
I'm
closely
curious.
enough.
I'm actually curious then at that point if it actually looks anything like the actual car, or if it's just kind of like a reference to it.
Because if it doesn't look like it, then whoever said that it appeared in that episode is full of it.
Then this Wikipedia entry needs to be deleted
for sure, right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what we could do on an upcoming episode? I think I figured out why I was having issues logging into Wikipedia.
Okay.
And because of like my iCloud private relay thing and all that, if I'm in a different browser, maybe we can live on the show write our Wikipedia page.
I wouldn't even know what to fucking write about myself. I feel like other people would have to find out stuff about me to put on there. I wouldn't even know.
It doesn't have to be
About
factual.
myself.
We can, just like
Well,
bad
it
news, we
should
can
be.
make it all up.
It's Wikipedia.
Isn't it? But we're not interesting enough to have a factual Wikipedia page. We would need to have it fabricated.
I'm sure there's plenty of people that have written their own Wikipedia pages that have never gotten any hits.
Or, yeah, but, and I don't think we're ever going to get to a status where someone would want to actually fact check it and make corrections if we're wrong. Because if they did that, they would find that in my version of the Wikipedia page, everything is wrong, except that we are the hosts of a podcast called High School Famous.
I don't remember if I mentioned this on here or to you or I was talking to somebody else, but the lead singer of Ninja Sex Party, Dan Avidan,
sure,
he's also a member of Game Grumps, and he was talking to the other member of Game Grumps about when he went on vacation with his family back in the day. Like, he was a really little kid, and they were like they were at some like caves. I think they were in like Jerusalem or something. They were like over there. They were in the like Middle East area, somewhere over there. And there were some caves or whatever. I don't know the exact details of this whole story, but as they were like looking around, he like went up to his dad and he's like, I dug these. Like, you know, what stupid kids say to their parents, like, oh, I did this. Like, you know, it's just a stupid thing. Somebody went on Wikipedia and entered that into that Wikipedia page for those caves. These were dug by Dan Avidan.
Really?
It was up there for a little while. I think it got taken down after a while, but it's just like super funny that somebody did that.
You know what? I want to reach a level where we can make
just ridiculous
flippantly
claims.
Make grandiose claims on the show that we've done things or said things or well, not said things, but that we've done things. And then someone will go on to alter a Wikipedia page for those things. Yeah.
Just as this person did this.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Funny.
Great.
I wouldn't mind having that kind of fame.
Some kind
the kind of fame where people do small vandalisms.
The kind of fame
temporary
where people
vandalism.
Listen to us and therefore act upon things we say.
Yeah. I want to be the Tyler Durden of podcasts. Is that
what Tyler Durden was known for?
I mean, he got people to do a bunch of stuff. Project Mayhem, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
You decide your own level of involvement.
Yeah, I just said I was the Tyler Durden, so it means I'm top.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
but what about me? The Edward Norton.
You're the narrator.
Tyler Durden.
You're the kind of guy who's involved but doesn't even really realize he's involved. And then in the end, you realize that I was just a figment of your imagination the whole time.
No. But with the whole Project Mayhem part, that was where he was seeing that he all of a sudden like wasn't involved and other people were, and he's like, "Well, why wasn't I involved? We're supposed to be doing this together." And that's when they're like, "You decide your own level of involvement." So if I'm the Edward Norton version, I'm like wondering why I'm not involved.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you decide how much you're involved. And it's like, well, no one told me about it. How am I supposed to be involved if I don't know about it? I just get angry.
Yeah.
And then later on, I realized that you're a figment of my imagination. And I was just like, why would that figment of my imagination do that to myself?
It did.
And then I go on about single serving friends and, other things happen in that movie.
Yeah.
And probably the book.
This is a case where I think I actually like the book better, or the movie better than the book.
I haven't read the book. I'm guessing you listened to it.
Of course I did. I don't read books. I can't focus.
I'm trying to remember what they all were, but I think when I went to get like my first couple DVDs ever, I know that Fight Club was one of the DVDs, one of the very first DVDs I ever purchased.
Right. And you got like the fucking like probably deluxe crazy version of it or something probably.
I mean, maybe I think there's a second disc of like, what do they call that? Special features or whatever the heck they would call that. I'll tell you one thing that's interesting. Having a car that has a CD player again.
Yeah.
I brought out the old CD book, still have it, and I plopped it in the passenger seat, and I've been putting CDs in there.
You're like, I wonder if these still work.
They all work, but it's just, it's kind of,
ancient technology. I wonder if these still work.
I wonder if these would float. It kind of harkens back to like days of old where you're like, oh, let me pick what I'm going to listen to next. It's no longer like, oh, let me just throw on this, station based on an artist I ask for. And then like it just shuffles through whatever it thinks is similar.
Mm-hmm. And it never is.
It never is. But it's nice to go, hey, I'm going to listen to this album next.
I mean,
And
you could do
trust
that.
me. Well, I could streaming too, but
Yeah.
right now I don't have CarPlay in this car. It doesn't have it. It was before.
But you can hook your phone to your car.
I can.
And then
But
you
again,
can
it's
still
just,
do that.
my whole
right?
point is it's been fun listening to CDs again.
Has it?
Yeah. And to me, even though
Sean's off the grid.
Even though streaming has come a long way as far as the sound quality is concerned, there's still some stuff that I'll find that's missing versus on the CD, and I'll hear certain things that are. It's more clear and higher up. It's easier to pick up on some of these other things when listening to the CD versus streaming. And so it's like, it's nice to it feels a little more full, or sounds a little more full, I should say. So that's been fun.
Interesting. I don't own any CDs anymore.
Does your
I haven't in a long time. My car
If you
does have a
did,
CD
does-
player because
it
it's
does?
older than your car.
I don't remember what year it is.
It's a 2014.
Oh, so it's only 2 years. It's only 2 years older.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what year.
But it's acting like it's 40 years older.
I don't know what year that CD players were sort of done away with. I just remember getting my 2021, I think, RAV4, and that didn't have one. But the car I had before that, I think, was like a 2017 Corolla, and that still had a CD player. So somewhere in between those years, they were done away with. At least Toyota. I'm not sure.
They had to make room for all the floating stuff, all the stuff to make the cars float. So
Yeah,
like,
they
the
can
CD
fit-
player's got to go.
That's how crazy wild of an idea it is, and unattainable. Everything needed to make a car float can fit in the same amount of space that a CD deck took up inside
That's
a
not
car.
true. It's just they needed that extra space. There's a lot. They had to take a lot more than the CD players, but the CD players were something that they definitely did have to get rid of
Why?
for the space. They needed that. They needed all the space they can get.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you don't
So-
see a lot of moonroofs in cars anymore, too.
You know, there could be something that
I don't know if that's true.
Well, that would also just, eliminate something they'd have to seal off and make.
Let's make this a
water
Wikipedia page.
watertight.
All the things that cars have to get rid of to make them be able to float.
You know what they could? They could just have something that completely fills the inside of a trunk.
Mm-hmm.
That would help the back end float. The
Yeah,
front
then it
end
would
still
just be
sinking.
tipped like this, and you're up towards the front of it, drowning.
Look, that's just one thing they could do. It's all
Okay.
It's
Well,
a
just
big
fill the entire. There's a lot of dead space in the engine bay. Let's just fill that with foam. That'll float.
Why not?
Yeah.
Now it would have
All
to
the
be a
extra
way.
little space inside. There's space between the fucking roof and the headliner. Let's fill that with foam. That can float.
Look, we got to focus more on the bottom area of the car
Yeah, the heaviest
keep
part,
you-
notoriously.
to keep you, the human being inside, above the surface of the water.
Mhm.
If you put all your flotation energy at the top, like in the roof of the car, what's the point? You're still going to be underwater while the top of the car is staying
Let's go back
afloat.
to that trunk thing then. Let's talk about that.
Your head is higher than the trunk. I'm saying
Not
that's
when
one
the trunk is floating and nothing else is.
I'm
then the
saying
car is like
that's-
this.
That's one area that has the potential to be just big open space that you could easily fill.
Has potential to be it? I think
Well,
it
'cause-
already is it.
But some people keep stuff in their trunk, is what I'm saying. Whereas if you happen to have an empty trunk, you don't happen to have anything in it. That's just free space to easily fill up with some sort of flotation device.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm not saying that that's the only place you have it.
Yeah, you
This is
think,
the problem
you think
with
the
people-
tires have air in them. You think they'd float.
Will cars sink with full tires? There's not enough air in them.
That was my point, Sean. I said you think they'd float.
This is why, this is.
I like
you're
how
part
finally
of-
you're getting mad.
You're
Usually
part of-
I'm the one that usually you're pissing me off.
You're so.
I'm so what?
You are part of what's wrong with the world.
I know.
Like you're part of you're part of the dumb part of humanity that that
Interesting that
without,
you say that, considering how dumb of a fucking idea you've had all day today.
but you're not
continue.
hearing.
Go ahead.
You
Keep
think
cooking.
I've had this idea all day? I just came up with it. But
Interesting.
You
So you admit it.
You're
Go
just
on.
ready to jump on an idea and point out that it won't work without considering all the possibilities.
You're telling me how it's going to work without considering all the possibilities.
I'm coming up with ideas. So when I mentioned that the trunk could be a good space to have something fill up with air, you're going like, but then the front end would still sink and you're still dead. You're jumping on it without. I'm not saying that that's the only place that there would be something.
Okay, so here's the thing. The trunk is already going to notoriously be the last part of the car that sinks because it's already filled with air.
Right.
The engine is where you need to worry about making it float because the engine is going to be the first thing that sinks.
Then
because
put
it's
the
just
engine in the
all
trunk.
weight. Then it'll just sink the opposite direction.
But you're in the front. You're at the end that's going to be going up.
Okay.
So that'll give you more time.
Okay, cool. We got more time. Now we're just contemplating our death even longer. Continue.
No, you have more time to get out of the car.
The inevitable death.
When something's announced at my job, some change that's going to be made to policy or procedure or something, people immediately start going off of, well, what's going to happen with this then? What are they going to make us do this? They run with all these negative ideas about how this is going to make things horrible. And I just sit back and go, you don't think they've thought of this? You don't think they have answers to these questions?
Yeah, I don't think
you are going to be taught the way this is going to work. They're not going to make something implemented that is going to make something else you are required to do impossible to do. If that was going to happen, they wouldn't implement it. But people like to run with their panic mode, and they all gang up on they all talk amongst each other and talk about how this is so crazy and this is not going to work and this is going to make things impossible. And then I sit back and just go, just wait for them to release all the details about it. And then the details come out and it makes sense. And then the panic is gone. But everyone loves to go into their immediate mode of just talking bad about the idea and how this is stupid and it's not going to work. And why are they making us do it this way?
I've had the opposite thing happen where I've literally done that. Like they're like saying, hey, let's do something this way or that way instead. And I complained and bitched about it and said, this isn't going to work. Why are you doing this? And then about 20 minutes later, after they tried implementing it and finding out it didn't fucking work, they came back and said, yeah, you were right. It didn't work. So exception to the rule. However, I also don't think you've done anything research. Well, I don't think you thought everything through that's going to make this car floating thing work.
I'm not claiming to. I'm not saying I have the solution. I'm saying
you just have the bad ideas.
I have the vision.
I don't think you have the vision. I think you have
wanting cars to not sink is the vision.
Very loose. Okay,
that's the vision.
Wow, you're such a visionary.
People need to make this happen.
Holy shit! I guess I was looking too broad of this. I should have narrowed it down to Sean has the vision of I don't want cars to sink. What a visionary! Well,
you're thinking
nobody's ever thought of that.
But you're coming into it acting as though I'm claiming that I have the way that this is going to happen figured out.
You've given all these examples of bad ideas, so I assumed you did. I assumed you had it all figured out.
But if I had it all figured out, then what I would be spouting would be good ideas. Would work.
But the thing is, I figured you in your head had it all figured out, and I was here to tell you how bad all those ideas were.
No,
that's my job.
It isn't your job.
That's my job here today now is to tell you how awful your ideas are.
But I've got the vision. Smarter people will figure out a way to make that vision a reality.
Okay, but are you going to tell those smarter people? Are you going to go to those smarter people and say, hey, this is my idea. I don't think cars should sink anymore. And you know what those smarter people are going to do? Okay, well, what's your idea?
Let's get to work on it.
No, they're going to say, okay, well, what's your idea? And you're going to be like, well, my idea was I don't want cars to sink anymore. And they're going to be like, yeah, but what's the idea?
No, they should phrase it differently than that.
But that's not what they'll do because they'll say, So
That's
your
just asking for a cycle.
your idea is just a thought. Your idea isn't an actual.
That's what
like,
ideas
you
are.
haven't come up with any plan.
Ideas are thoughts.
You haven't come up with any plan. Literally, what you're saying is, I don't think cars should sink anymore. And you're coming to us saying that, and they're just going to be like, "Cool, have a good day." They're going to send you on your way because that's not an idea.
It is too. A plan and an idea are different.
In the most minuscule way, is it an idea?
Sure, but that's how all things start. They start as an idea.
Yeah,
People
but
come up.
This is your thing. I'm going to talk over you because I'm better at it than you are. This is your thing. Is you're not even going to attempt to make it more than an idea. You're going to just have the idea, and then you're going to give it to somebody else and say, "Here's the idea. You make it happen."
I don't have any expertise in any of this be able, well, that's true too, but to be able to come up with an idea where it could possibly work and to bring it to vehicle engineers and say, "Here's my idea." And they go, "Wow, this is really impressive. We've been doing this our entire lives. We've never thought of that before. Good on you, sir."
We've never thought of making cars not sink. It's never been, you know what? Probably. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they've never thought of that because it's never been an issue that anybody's been like, "We need to solve this."
This is you being dumb again. You didn't hear everything I said.
I haven't stopped.
You didn't hear everything I said.
That's more so a choice than a failure on my part.
But don't rebut on something I said if it's not everything I said.
Okay, then what did you say? What did I miss? What important little piece of information did I miss?
I said I don't have the expertise to come up with the idea of saying cars shouldn't sink, and also come up with a way to make it possibly happen that car engineers have not already thought of. I don't have that ability to bring that to them and then go, "Hey, I don't think you have the ability to come up with the way that they've already thought of." I don't.
Yeah. So
nor am I claiming that.
It was pointless for you to even make any sort of differential fucking thing of like the way they like. I can't think of the way they haven't thought of it yet.
Your whole statement is that I don't have an idea. I have a thought.
You don't have an idea.
My idea is that cars shouldn't sink. That's my idea. Again, I have nothing beyond that. I'm not claiming to have anything beyond that, but you're stating that I am.
Here's my idea.
What is it?
I think cars should sink faster.
Why?
I think if you're stupid enough to drive your car into a body of water, you deserve to die. Fast. Real fast. That's a high school famous guarantee.
That you think that? All right. Well, on that note, I guess we're going to see you next Tuesday. Never mind. Let's try to redo that one. All right. On that note, I think we're going to see you next Tuesday.
I started having a coughing fit at the end of this episode.
Yeah, so I decided to redo that so that you could maybe contribute with your own see you next Tuesday. But you chose not to do that no matter what. And to me, that's a bad idea.
Car truck.
Cuck.
If you have a question, complaint, or threat for Sean or Matt, you can reach us on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X, or Instagram at HSFamousPod, or you can email the show at highschoolfamous@gmail.com. No animals were pleasured during the making of this podcast, despite our best efforts. All hail our Lord and Savior.
No, see, but the thing is, like, I figure you in your head had it all figured out, and I was here to tell you how bad all those ideas were. That's my job, to tell you how. That's my job here today now, is to tell you how awful your ideas are.